Welcome to this first episode of CareersCast. Starting 2024, I work with dozens of students and early career professionals on their struggle navigating career choices. The insights gained in that work motivated me to start this podcast. There was an early version of this episode in which I simply read the content in one of my foundational articles on the subject. Since then, I found a way to make the content more interesting and easier to process by using AI tools. So before we talk about career choices, a comment on artificial intelligence. AI is a technology that will reshape jobs and perhaps our lives in the future. While we might have reservations on where and how to use AI, don't be afraid of it. Like the internet and other transformational technologies in the past, people who understand the technology early and can make positive use of it will have a competitive advantage in the market. I will now play the AI-generated summary of my post, and then I'll come back live at the end for more of my advice in navigating early career choices. Enjoy the overview.
All right, so you know that feeling, right? When you're just starting out your career and everyone expects you to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Well, today we are doing a deep dive into Marcio Saito's blog post, all about navigating those early career choices.
Yeah.
And he has such a refreshing, honest take on this whole thing.
Yeah, he really does.
And for those of you who don't know, Marcio Saito is kind of a big deal in the tech world. He's got over 30 years of experience. He's seen it all.
Yeah, he's been there since the beginning, basically.
And he's not afraid to tell it like it is.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things I love about his advice is how he just throws out that whole perfect path narrative, like that straight line to success.
Right.
It's so refreshing.
Totally. He's basically saying, forget the pressure of having this perfectly linear career trajectory.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's just not realistic.
Exactly. And those early jobs, the ones that might feel like detours or even like missteps.
Right.
They're actually some of your most valuable assets. They're like little experiments.
I like that experiments.
Right. Helping you figure out what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're definitely not good at.
And what you definitely don't want to do for the rest of your life.
Exactly. And he even uses this example of think about the NBA, right?
Oh, yeah. What about it?
Well, everyone wants to be like LeBron James, right?
Of course, who doesn't?
But for every LeBron James, there are thousands of people who didn't make it.
So true.
And it's not just about following your passion blindly. It's also about being realistic.
Yeah.
About, what skills are actually in demand. How can you actually carve a path towards a sustainable career?
Right. It's not enough to just love something. You have to be able to make a living doing it.
Exactly. And I feel like so many people, especially, I don't know if it's like a millennial thing or whatever, they get so caught up on this follow your passion thing.
Oh, yeah. The passion project trap.
Yes. And they don't think about the bigger picture of the long term.
And that's where Saito's perspective is so valuable. It's about being intentional, right?
Yes.
Thinking about future demand, thinking about whether this thing you're passionate about is actually going to be relevant in 5, 10, 20 years.
Right, because the world changes so fast, especially in the tech world.
Oh, tell me about it. What's the hot new thing today? Is old news tomorrow?
Exactly. And it's interesting how he doesn't really buy into the whole follow your passion advice either.
Yeah, he's not a fan, is he?
No, not really. What does he say? He says consistency and integrity are much more important than some grand vision you have right out of the gate.
Interesting. So it's more about showing up every day doing the work, even when it's not glamorous, building that track record.
It's like he's saying what you consistently do matters more than any grand plan you might have, right?
Exactly. It's those actions, those everyday choices that shape your career more than anything else.
So true. And, he even shares this anecdote about how he kind of fell into the world of computer networking.
Oh, really? What's the story there?
So he didn't have this master plan or anything. He was just curious. He started tinkering, exploring, and that curiosity ended up putting him at the forefront of a technological revolution.
Wow. Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
Right. But it's also about being open to those possibilities, following your interests, even if they don't seem directly related to your current path.
That's such a good point. Sometimes the most exciting opportunities come from those unexpected detours.
Totally. And I think a lot of people, especially early in their careers, they feel so much pressure to have it all figured out. They need to stick to this rigid plan.
Right, like they're afraid to deviate from the script.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Saito's experience shows that sometimes the most rewarding opportunities come from those unexpected twists and turns. So it sounds like curiosity and being open to detours are super important.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, what are some practical things you can actually do to kind of navigate those early career choices?
Right. Because it's easy to say, be more curious. But how do you actually put that into practice? Well, luckily, Saito lays out 6 specific strategies that he's used throughout his career.
Oh, perfect. So he gives us like an action plan.
Exactly. And they're full of these like aha moments, these little nuggets of wisdom.
So what's the first strategy?
The first one he talks about is exploring with curiosity.
Okay, so not just like being curious in theory,
Yeah.
but actually like actively exploring.
Exactly. And he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk, you know? He talks about how in every single role he ever had, even early on, he approached it with this insatiable curiosity.
Okay.
Like he was always willing to go above and beyond to take on tasks that weren't even part of his job description just to learn more.
I love it.
Yeah, it's about having that mindset of continuous learning, you know? You don't have to wait for permission or a formal training program to start expanding your skill set.
Right.
Volunteer for projects, shadow people in different departments, ask questions relentlessly.
Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty.
Exactly. Sometimes the most valuable learning happens outside the confines of your job description.
So true. Okay, so that's exploring with curiosity. What's the next strategy?
His next one is introspection over perfection,
Interesting.
which I think is so important because it's so easy to get caught up in what you think you should be doing or what looks good on paper or what everyone else seems to be chasing, you know?
Yeah, like the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing, but for
Yeah.
your career.
Right, exactly. And Saito's like, tune out that noise. He's all about really getting to know yourself. Like, what are you naturally drawn to? What makes you tick? What are you genuinely curious about? Even if it's not the hottest job title or the highest paying field at the moment.
It's about trusting your gut, right?
Exactly, that inner compass that guides you towards the things that truly resonate with you, even if they don't make sense to everyone else.
And he actually has a personal example of this, right?
He does. He talks about how he initially decided to study electrical engineering because he felt like it was this competitive field and he wanted to prove himself.
Oh, wow. So not exactly for the love of it.
Not at first, but then he stumbled upon computer networking, which wasn't even really on most people's radar at the time.
Really?
Yeah, and he just became upset. He was fascinated by it, and that ended up being like his biggest strength, you know?
That's so cool. How sometimes the things you least expect end up being like your biggest asset.
Totally. And it just goes to show that you have to be open to those unexpected detours because you never know where they might lead.
Okay, so we've got explore with curiosity, introspection over perfection. What's next?
The next one is huge, and it's something I'm a big believer in myself. It's about having mentors.
Oh, yes. Mentors are so important.
They really are. And Saito doesn't just say, get a mentor. He says, get multiple mentors.
Oh, interesting. So not just like one person you go to for advice, but like a whole team of advisors.
Exactly. People from different backgrounds, different industries, different walks of life.
And don't limit yourself to just people within your current company, right?
Absolutely. He actually tells this story about how he cold emailed Apple's CTO back in the day.
What? No way.
And he got a response. And it led to some like really valuable career advice.
That's amazing. So you never know unless you ask.
Right. Exactly. It's about being proactive, building those relationships, even if it starts with just a simple email or a virtual coffee chat.
It's like putting yourself out there.
Totally. And sometimes you'll be surprised by who's willing to help.
Okay, so mentors check. But even with the best mentors, even with a clear sense of direction, I feel like you're bound to hit some bumps in the road, right?
Oh, absolutely. No one's career is a straight line to success.
Exactly. And that's where Saito's advice on reframing failure comes in.
Yes, this is such a crucial point because I think a lot of us, we view setbacks as these like career-ending disasters.
Right, like it's the end of the world.
Exactly. But Saito's like, hold on a second. He's all about embracing those so-called failures and extracting valuable lessons from them.
He's like, my career path was not a straight line. I had my fair share of detours and what some people might even call setbacks.
Right. And those experiences, they shaped his perspective. They led him to where he is today.
It's like you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes.
Absolutely. Sometimes those detours end up being the most valuable part of the journey.
It's like they say you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you got to mess up to figure things out.
Okay, so Embracing failure. Check what else is on Saido's list of strategies.
His next one is don't compare your timeline to others, which I think is so important, especially these days.
Oh my gosh. Yes, with social media, it's like everyone's always showing off their highlight reel.
Exactly. It's so easy to get caught in that trap of comparing yourself and feeling like you're not doing enough or you're not where you're supposed to be.
Totally.
But Sato reminds us that everyone's journey is unique. Like, he even shares this anecdote about how some of his friends made fun of him for choosing to be an entrepreneur.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, they were all like, why would you choose this uncertain path when you could just get a stable corporate job?
And look at him now.
Exactly. It just goes to show that success doesn't always follow a conventional timeline.
Love that don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20.
Right. You have no idea what their journey has actually been like.
Okay, so don't compare timelines. Check what's his last strategy.
His final strategy is all about optimizing for learning, not just money, especially early in your career.
Okay, so that's something you hear a lot, but what's his take on it?
Well, he talks about how the knowledge and skills you acquire early on, they're like compound interest.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, like investing in your skill set, even if it means taking a slightly lower salary at first, can actually lead to exponential earning potential down the line.
It's about playing the long game.
Exactly. Think about it this way. Would you rather have like a small amount of money now, or would you rather invest that money so it can grow significantly over time?
Right, your early career is like that investment opportunity.
Exactly.
So don't chase the quick buck, chase the knowledge.
Yes.
And it's not just about technical skills either, right?
Huh.
He talks about these timeless principles that have guided his career. Things like deep knowledge, recognizing and seizing opportunities, building strong relationships, acting with empathy, generosity, integrity.
Yeah, it's really interesting how he brings in those human qualities, you know? Like, it's not just about being the smartest person in the room.
It's about being a good human, a good person to work with.
Exactly, and that goes a long way in any field.
So true. Okay, so we've talked about skills, but what about the people you work with?
Oh, yeah, he definitely doesn't let us off the hook with that one.
Especially your manager, right?
It's especially your manager. He says having a supportive and inspiring manager early in your career can make or break you.
It's so true.
Because a good manager will help you navigate challenges, identify opportunities, they'll help you grow.
But a bad manager can really hold you back.
Oh, absolutely. A toxic work environment can be so detrimental.
It's so important to be mindful of that, you know? Like, take stock of your current situation. Are you surrounded by people who inspire you, who challenge you, who support your growth?
If not, it might be time for a change.
It's your career.
Yeah.
Your journey. You deserve to be in an environment where you can thrive.
Couldn't agree more.
You know, at the end of his blog post, Saito makes this call to action, and I think it's a great way to wrap up our deep dive today.
Oh, what's that?
He encourages readers to share his advice, to have conversations about career development with their friends, their family, their mentors.
I love that. Spreading the knowledge.
Right. It's not about hoarding information. It's about creating a dialogue, supporting each other, navigating this crazy world of work together.
Totally. We're all in this together.
Exactly. So here's our final thought for you, inspired by Marcio Saito. What's one skill or area of knowledge you've been curious about, something that falls outside of your current role?
Ooh, I like this.
What if exploring that curiosity could unlock new possibilities, unexpected paths in your own career journey?
It's like planting a seed. You never know what might grow.
Exactly. Maybe it's time to dust off that old interest. Take a class, reach out to someone in a field that's always intrigued you.
You never know where it might lead.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive into Marcio Saito's advice on navigating early career choices. We hope you found it insightful, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit challenging. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.
So if you find the overview you just heard interesting, you can find the original article on navigating early career choices in my blog at marciosaito.com. As a student and early career professional, you get a lot of unsolicited advice. Parents' and teachers' experiences can be good inspiration for you, but times change, and it is important to differentiate what is right for them and what's right for you. I know it's intimidating because I have been there. So be curious and move forward with confidence. Don't be afraid to ask for help or advice, as most people with rich experiences are usually willing to share. Over the next episodes of this podcast, we will continue to explore the world of work, and we'll cover specific careers, general advice, and the changes in the market triggered by technology. For now, if this was useful to you, please subscribe and share. See you in the next episode of Careers Cast.